Sometimes there's a third sound. It's very rare in adults. It could sound like the heart is galloping, like a horse galloping, okay? Not good. It is more common in babies and children, you know, but as we get older, if it is heard, there are other things it's indicative of. If it's very prominent, hopefully your doctor is going to send you for some further testing, hopefully, okay, to try to determine what it might be. So this cardiac cycle, as we go through that one complete heartbeat, what we're listening to is systolic and diastolic activities of the heart, meaning contraction and relaxation, because that's what I keep saying, contraction and relaxation. That is the cycle that's occurring. When this is taking place, we just saw the picture where blood is moving through the heart. Under normal conditions, there is a certain volume that should be flowing through the heart. As we sit here right now, well, you know, I'm kind of standing and walking, but not fast. So it's not like it's doing anything big or great, okay? But under normal conditions at rest, it should be about 4 to 6 liters per minute being moved through this organ. Does that mean every heartbeat is moving 4 to 6 liters? No. You have on what, you know, what they say is our norm, roughly 70 to 75 beats per minute, okay? So that means take that beat, and if I'm moving 4 to 6 liters per minute, even though it's a little more difficult math, but to kind of simplify it, we're doing a certain amount of milliliters per heartbeat. And when you add it all up together, it should be about 4 to 6 per heartbeat, okay? So therefore, we have a volume of blood that they say is the norm. Pressure changes, just showed on the other slide, that as the filling and the moving of the blood, okay, from atria to ventricle to great vessels, it's based upon changes of pressure in the heart. That means changes of pressure within the chamber itself. So, therefore, being a change in the pressure in the atria and the change in the pressure of a ventricle. Going up, going down. Those changes affect the valves. It affects the atrioventricular, the valve between the atria and the ventricle, and the semilunars, the ones going into the great vessels. This that's making up the cycle is what you hear in those sounds. Turbulence, so to speak, because it's a fluid. Now, when I have this part right here, in your textbook, it's going to get very detailed about the volumes. It's going to talk about end diastolic volume, systolic volume. It's going to have all these numbers and a lot of math. I will not ask you those questions. Okay? I want you understanding the concept. If the blood fills the atria, pressure rises, atrioventricular valve opens, flows into the ventricle, pressure builds up, semi-lunares open. I want you understanding the concept. Yes, no, maybe. Okay. So, I won't ask you about the 125 milliliters, the 75 milliliters, and all that sort of stuff. Okay? You'll not be doing any math. Something that's important, because we do, let's think about it for a second. The goal to having this pump is to expel it into its circuits. Cardiac output. What is the amount of blood per minute? There is a norm, roughly the 4 to 6 liters, okay? There is a little bit of an equation for cardiac output. Heart rate times the stroke volume, okay? Like I said, there is a norm. They say that we have roughly 75 beats per minute. That's what they put as the norm. People could be higher, people could be lower, okay? And if we expel a certain amount, which is the norm, okay, therefore, per minute, how many milliliters we should put out. This is a little over 5. This is where I get the 4 to 6 liters per minute. Does that make sense? So, that is kind of interesting. This is why they say that red blood cell tends to make a complete circuit through the body every minute. So the red blood cell that returns gets ejected. By the time it returns again, should be roughly a minute for it to return. That's a lot, okay? A lot of movement. Our cardiac output, that volume of blood, all right, every heartbeat, okay, it's pretty constant. However, one of the things that the body can do, and it's really cool, under normal circumstances, the body meets demands placed upon it. What do I mean by that? The activity levels that we do. We can have activities where, I don't know, running a marathon, kicked back with your feet up watching a movie, climbing the stairs, coming to class, sitting in class, okay? All of as long as you are alive, because remember, if your heart's not beating, you're not. Well, technically. And if not, you're not going to know it anyway. So, these activities that we place on our body, the heart will meet the demand of all the tissues for the blood it needs. So if I'm doing a physical activity demands more blood to certain tissues. So the way that the body can meet that demand, it can increase its cardiac output. It can increase up to 21 liters per minute. Now take that divided by the beats that'll be showing up. Beats will be higher because if you're doing a physical activity, your heart beats up, you know? So, however, that's in people who are very conditioned, all right? They've probably been training their entire lives, okay? If we were trying to go out and compete against them who are not world-class athletes, like if I were trying to go out and take a run with a world-class athlete, I'd be passed out in the first 10 feet. All right, my body's not going to meet that demand. I haven't trained it to do so. But let's say that I wanted to take a brisk walk. First time I do it, you know, first time I decide to do that brisk walk, all right? But let's say I decide, do it again tomorrow, and the next day. In 2 weeks, when I first start, might feel that way, but then it's going to calm down real quick. What have I done? I have trained the muscle. You guys, heart is a muscle, just like skeletal muscle. And if you are physical, in other words, go to the gym, have some type of running regimen, whatever the case might be, are you or are you not training that muscle? Yes, thank you, Marlation. Yes. Same thing for the heart. The heart is trainable, which is kind of cool. And it will begin to meet the demand. So how does it meet the demand? When we begin to look at the vessels of the body, one of the things about arteries are under pressure. And for the most part, they get to flow with gravity. So not only do they have a little oomph behind them, they also have the plus of gravity. Veins that have to return back, they are dependent upon skeletal muscle movement. If you have increased, so therefore, what part I should add is veins have more blood in them than arteries. So if you begin to do a physical activity, you are using your skeletal muscles, and they begin to become a pump. And therefore, blood in the veins is returning to the heart, meaning you are increasing the volume of blood moving through it. And if I've done that, I've now increased my output to meet my cardiac output. That's kind of cool. Did y'all know that a bunch of your blood is sitting in your veins? The more you move, the better your circulation. The more you breathe. How many times do you find yourself holding your breath? We do. How many of you all breathe correctly? Or